evening we could have questions and answers. If you have some questions you'd like to ask, or if you have some topic that you'd like to discuss, then you can ask, and then we can keep it quite open. Otherwise, I'll pick a verse. We'll see how it goes. But see if you have any questions, then we can discuss that.
Hare Rama
Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. So welcome to everyone. I thought there's two options. Either I could read something from the Bhagavad Gita and then we could discuss, or perhaps we could have just the evening of questions and answers. So, do you have questions you would like to ask? Then we can keep it pretty open. Do you have questions? Like, can you just put your hand up if roughly you have like some questions that you want to ask? Oh, you all have, okay. Oh, okay, good. All right. So then we'll just say some prayers. Then we'll just do questions and answers, and we'll also obviously reference the Bhagavad Gita. Om Jnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All of our scriptures, they're in the form of questions and answers, because there can be general philosophy. But then when we ask questions, then we are exploring more how to apply that philosophy to what we're experiencing every single day. And therefore, do you know how many questions Arjuna asks Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita? Yes?
I have a silly question.
No, just before that, before you go to that, I was just asking you a question first, before you ask me a question. My question is, how many questions did Arjuna ask Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita? Anyone know? 15? Close, yeah, 17 questions. And if you look at Arjuna's questions, he asks three main types of questions. One type of question he asks is, Krishna, I don't understand what you're saying. Philosophically, it doesn't make sense to me. The second question he asks is, Krishna, I understand what you're saying, but how do I practice this? How do I live this? So like this, Arjuna actually asks very different types of questions. And in this way, through questions and answers, Krishna delivers to him the philosophy. So questions and answers are very much a part of our tradition. So let's ask you, what questions do you have? And then we can try and have a discussion. Okay, yes, you can begin. There's not a mic, right? Is there? And second mic? No, no, that's fine. No, I'll repeat it.
Okay, so 5,000 years where Krishna appears as the head of Kesava. Is this a European time, or is it a Vaishnava time?
Okay.
Yeah.
So we say Krishna appeared 5,000 years ago on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Does this refer to European time or Vaishnava time? I don't know that there's anything called Vaishnava time, but what there is that in the universe, as you go to higher planetary systems, time dilates. You understand? So like say we're on the Earth planet. So as you go higher and higher in the universe, say for example you go to Brahmaloka, then one day on Brahmaloka is like 6 months on the Earth planet. So there's earthly time and then there's celestial or heavenly time. So when we talk about Arjuna and Krishna 5,000 years ago on the battlefield, that's referring to earthly time. So basically, roughly speaking, Krishna and Arjuna were on earth roughly 3000 BC. 3000 BC, because we're in 2000 AD now. So 5,000 years ago. So actually, there's an exact calculation in the Shastra of the exact date when Krishna was here, when he appeared and when he left. There's even an exact date of when the Bhagavad Gita was spoken. So therefore, every single year we have Gita Jayanti, because that's the actual day when the Gita was spoken. So yeah, literally Krishna was here 5,000 years ago. That's a date that you can actually find. Is that okay? Thank you. Yes.
My question is, so when we have to make some major decisions in life, but both the paths, let's say, are equally beneficial for our spiritual life, in that situation, how do we decide, or do we even decide at that point? Do we just take one path and just remember Krishna? Whatever happens, or because some major decisions, they may have different consequences, but when we start them, it seems both are equally dharmic.
Okay. So yes, sometimes there's a question of making a right decision and a wrong decision. Where sometimes it seems to be, how do you make a decision when both decisions seem to be right? Broadly speaking, when we make decisions, there are different levels of decision making. In the mode of ignorance, there's indecision. You don't make a decision. And when you don't make a decision, what happens? The world makes the decision for you anyway. So this is the worst type of decision making, indecision, mode of ignorance. Higher than that is mode of passion. Mode of passion means impulsiveness. You make a decision without thinking deeply about what will be the consequences of the decision. So higher than that is mode of goodness. And mode of goodness means not indecision, not impulsive, but introspective. You think deeply. If I make this decision, what will be the good things? What will be the bad things? And you introspect. But there's even something higher than that. And that is decision making made out of inspiration. And that means what we do is we refer to knowledge and wisdom which is beyond our own mind and intelligence to help us introspect and make the right decision. So can you see the levels? Lowest is indecisive. Higher than that is impulsive. Higher than that is introspective. And higher than that is inspiration. So when you need to make a decision, what you should do is refer to Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. So if you have a decision, what is Shastra? What inspiration can you take from Shastra that will help you to make the decision? Number 2, if you have a Guru, ask your Guru. Number 3, there are saintly people around you, sadhus. Take their input. And once you've taken all that inspirational input, then introspect and then make a decision. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And when you go through the right process of making a decision, then every decision you make will be blessed by Krishna. And therefore every decision will be successful because you made the decision with sincerity and with intelligence.
So even if the result may not be as expected, if the effort put in is correct, then it's okay. Then Krishna helps. And we say so.
Yeah, sometimes we may make a decision which is blessed by Krishna, but the result may not be according to what we thought the result was meant to be. But still that result is Krishna's plan. Because sometimes Krishna's plan is different to our plan. They say if you want to make Krishna laugh, tell him your plans. Because we think we always have the best plan. But sometimes Krishna has a better plan than us. And therefore sometimes Krishna will not give us what we want. And that's actually his great generosity. Because he wants to give us something even better. Is that okay? Yes.
I have a question. So I was thinking today about when we are sometimes preaching to new people, and I saw also the style how you are preaching, and I mean, I'm not in the level of never be, but I'm trying to tell new people what our culture is about, what we are praying for, and sometimes I tend to tell maybe more that they can digest. And even if I do it like sincerely and also trying to ask questions, a bit like coaching like, and trying to implement, sometimes I feel that I may give them too much that they can digest, because for me it was also a process, but I don't do it like for goodwill to give them as much as I know, but this might be too much sometimes. How to find this balance and how to also satisfy Krishna with it. So
Yeah, preaching is an art. Sharing Krishna consciousness is an art. So how do we know how much to give, how much someone can digest? To be honest, all of this comes with experience. As you do it more and more, then you will know how much someone can take. Like when someone does book distribution, then as they become more and more experienced, when someone stops on the street, the experienced book distributor, within 15 or 20 seconds, they can understand so many things about the person. Just by the way they're looking, just by the way they're dressed, just by the way they relate to you in those 15 seconds, because we become more and more experienced. So one way you will become a better preacher is just through more experience. However, there's another way in which you can become a better preacher, which is by being in connection with the Paramatma. Because Krishna is within you, and from Krishna comes knowledge, remembrance and forgetfulness. And so when you are connected with Krishna, then Krishna will also inspire you to say the right things. Krishna will also inspire you to know how much to tell someone. Krishna will inspire you to answer their questions in such a way that it actually touches their heart. And so the other deeper aspect of becoming a better sharer of Krishna consciousness or preacher of Krishna consciousness is that you need Krishna's empowerment. Krishna Shakti Vina Nahe Tada Pravartan. If you don't have Krishna Shakti, you can't really touch anyone's heart. And so the greatest devotees, they are channels of Krishna's mercy. And Krishna basically inspires them what to say. Like that. So when Srila Prabhupada came on the Jaladuta to America, then he wrote a poem. And in that poem he said, Krishna, please make my words suitable for their understanding. So he was praying to Krishna that now you inspire me to say the right thing. So if you want to become a better preacher, just do it more, number one. And number two, get connected with Krishna more, and Krishna will inspire you. And the third thing is, if you want to learn how to preach Krishna consciousness, then learn from good preachers. Just like anything you learn in this world, you learn it from people who have become accomplished. So if you learn from those who know how to speak to people, who know how to be relevant to people, who know how to touch people's hearts, then just by being with them you can also learn the art. Is that okay? Yes.
I have had a conversation last afternoon when I was riding home from the retreat to Köln with Ram Gopal. And Ram Gopal was saying, because I feel like I am like a beginner, and sometimes I feel really like a baby, especially in the beginning of this retreat. So sometimes I have the feeling I'm wrong there. I don't understand anything. It had also to do with being very tired because I'm getting up so early and getting used to the words and all this crowd and things like that. But Ram Gopal was. I can really speak open with Ram Gopal, and he's all often explaining me, telling me some things about Krishna, and he was saying telling me yesterday, because he feels, or he is a servant of Krishna, he's in this case then becoming a servant of me, because I'm the questioner, so he is standing himself somehow lower in his knowledge, that he is going to feel how much he can tell me, and where are my limits. And also he's saying openly, telling me openly, so tell me when your limit is reached, then we make a break. Then I know, okay, for now it's good. And this was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much knowledge in Krishna consciousness, but it has to be given step by step. Like you can put so much food in your mouth, but then at some point you have to close your mouth and you have to start chewing it. Otherwise, if you just keep your mouth open all day long putting food in, but you don't close it at any point and chew it. So what we have to do is we have to put some food in someone's mouth and then say, okay, stop now. Now you close your mouth, you chew it, think about it, digest it. And once you've digested it, open your mouth again and I'll give you some more. So it's like that. Otherwise, what we try to do is we just try to stuff more and more and more and more, and then it doesn't work. So yeah, step by step. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Yes?
Is it also possible that Krishna sometimes gives 2 or 3 quick answers?
Is it possible that Krishna can give 2 or 3 quick answers? Yeah, Krishna can give 2 or 3, he can give 4 or 5, he can give as many as he wants to. Krishna is active, and Kadamba Maharaj, he used to say, someone asked me, have you seen Krishna? And I told them, I haven't seen Krishna's face, but I see his hand every single day. So the devotee learns to see Krishna's hand. Sometimes Krishna gives an answer through the books. Sometimes Krishna gives an answer through the devotees. Sometimes Krishna can even give an answer through a non-devotee. Once I was driving the Sankirtan car to the mechanic and my phone went off, so I answered my phone. And as soon as I picked up my phone, then I saw a police car behind me. So I put my phone down, but then the police siren went off and I was like, oh no. Is it like that in Germany? You can't use your phone while driving? So anyway, the police car pulled me over. So then he knocked on the window. He said, "Come out." So then I opened the door. So then I came out of the car. So it was quite shocking for him because first I'm quite tall and then I was in full saffron. So he was like a little. So then he looked at me and he said, "Sir, you were using your phone while driving." I said, no, I wasn't really speaking. I was just answering it to Candy. He said, "You were using your phone." I said, no, I wasn't really. And then he looked at me and he said, "Mr. Monk, the truth shall set you free." So I looked at him and I said, "I should be saying that to you." I'm the monk here, you know. So he looked at me and he said, "The truth shall set you free." So then I looked at him and I said, "Okay, I'm sorry, I was using it, you know, but we're monks, we're not." He said, "I like you guys. You're Hare Krishna, right?" I said, yeah. He said, "I like you guys, you know." So he said, "It's all right, I'll let you go, but just make sure you don't do it again." But it was nice, through the policeman, the truth shall set you free. Yes, Krishna reminding us, be honest. So Krishna speaks through us in so many ways. Krishna gives messages through the books, through the devotees, through the people in general. But we have to be alert. We have to keep our eyes open. And then Krishna is constantly communicating with us. Yeah, I like this about the devotees. When I joined the Hare Krishna movement, you know what impressed me about the devotees? They would just say things like, "Oh, Krishna's playing a trick on us." Or, "Oh, Krishna's telling us something." Or, "Oh, Krishna, he has a sense of humor." And for me, it was very amazing because I never thought of God as someone who was so involved in our life. Whenever I thought of God, I thought He's up there, we're down here. As long as you don't do anything to anger Him, He won't get on your case here, and everyone will be happy. So that was my conception of God, that He's up there and we're down here. And now they were talking about God as though like He's right there. Like, "Oh, Krishna's playing a joke on me. Krishna's arranging this." I was like, wow, you think like Krishna's involved in your life? Yeah, but I didn't understand this. And so it really impressed me. Like, wow, this is amazing. You can actually like interact with God every single day. That's amazing.
Yes, because I prayed for something, for devotional service, and then I had to read the Bhagavatam, and in the introduction there was a book that we should read for devotional service.
Nectar devotion.
No, and then there was the answer. A few days later, I was writing it down. But it was a very beautiful realization. Because it showed me that God is alive in the book.
Yeah, so Krishna speaks to us all the time, and I think was it John Prabhu, you were telling me a story that you were reading and you highlighted one passage. Yeah, do you mind if I tell everyone? Yeah. Prabhu was reading a passage of the Gita. So then he found one very interesting part. So he highlighted it. And he didn't highlight any other part. He highlighted that part. And he never highlights any other part. He only somehow highlighted that sentence. Anyway, then he went somewhere and he was reading the book. So as he was reading the book, he was going page by page by page. And then someone was in the room, and at one moment the person in the room said, "Just stop reading. Read out what you're reading now." And the place where he stopped was exactly the same place that he highlighted. right? Whenever it was. It was amazing. So it was like Krishna was confirming that you highlighted the right place. This was the thing that you need to. That's amazing. So all these things happen. So Krishna's miracles are happening every day. Yeah, it's wonderful. Krishna is speaking to you. Yes, Azad.
Maharaj, I have a question. My question is, I think it's a transition from this topic to another topic, to Mayavad topic.
Okay.
And I have a question. I have a lot to do with Muslims and other traditions and religions. I would say Mayavad is everything which where not belong that God is a personality. Yeah? And sometimes I have a little story. There was a woman in Syria. She was baking bread, and her husband died in the war 40 years ago. And now the Arabian Spring in this war 10 years ago, she lost four kids, 4 sons. And some reporter interviewed her. Why are you so happy? You are sitting here, you lost your husband, you lost 4 sons, you are still baking bread and pray to Allah, to Krishna. And she said something amazing. She said, I have a conversation with Allah, and Allah told me, this is what I need to experience.
I need to experience this.
I need to experience it, yes. And my question is now, when I talk to those people, all those people are talking every day
to God.
Yes, to God. But when you talk to them and say, there's a personality of Godhead, not Mayavad, not Brahmajyoti, there's more, then they won't believe. But when you ask them, to whom are you talking now? Then they realize. But 10 seconds later, when you say Krishna is a personality of Godhead, no. Can you please analyze? What is the reason? Is this Buddhi? Is it I don't know how to ask.
Yeah, so on one hand, they seem to have a very personal relationship with God, like they're speaking with God, they're interacting. And on the other hand, when you talk to them and say God has a form, then they can't accept that. That's too much. So why is it that... So Srila Prabhupada explains in his book that when people think of form, they always think of material form. Whenever people think of relationships, they think of material relationships. Whenever people think of love, they think of the frustrated love of this world. And therefore, because they can only think of these things in material terms, when you try to explain to them that there is a spiritual version of this, then they can't understand it. Because they've only experienced material form, they think all form is material. Because they've only experienced frustrated love, they think all love is frustrating. Therefore, there's no love, it's just peace, it's just connection, it's just universal consciousness. Because all relationships they've experienced have broken down, they don't want to really have like relationship like that, and therefore they make everything impersonal. Because they're frustrated by the personality and interactions that they experience here in this world. So this is what Srila Prabhupada explains why people turn towards impersonalism. Because their material experience of personal love, relationship, interaction has been so disheartening that they want to go to a realm where there's none of that, just consciousness. But what they don't understand is that this is just a reflection and that there's a pure version of this. Does that make sense?
One last question. What is then the difference between us and them? Are we reach our goal soon and they need to take birth again and again? Are we further through the goal, or what's the reason?
Yeah. What Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita is that Krishna says, Manusha Partha Sarvasha. Krishna says everyone is on the path. So different religions, what they do is they give you different amounts of progression towards the supreme goal. So if someone practices Christianity or Islam or Buddhism with sincerity and purity, then they make progress. But it's not that they will ultimately achieve the ultimate goal, because they haven't realized the full nature of God. But what they can do is make significant progress on that journey there. And so what we understand is, therefore, anyone who practices any religion with sincerity makes progress. Is that okay? Yes.
What is the full nature of God?
What's the full nature of God?
You just mentioned.
So the Bhagavatam says in one verse, Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yajnana madvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdyate. The full nature of God is that God appears in three ways. One is Brahman, the all-pervading universal consciousness, the effulgence of God. The second aspect of God is Paramatma. He's in your heart and He's accompanying all living entities through this universe. And then the third and most confidential aspect of God is Bhagavan, the person. And that Bhagavan has many, many identities. And of the identities of Bhagavan, Krishna, who lives in Vrindavan, is the most intimate and original supreme personality of Godhead. So this is the full nature of God. You can see God as an energy. You can see God within the heart. You can see God as a person. And of God as a person, Krishna, who's living in Vrindavan, that is God in His most intimate form. That's the full nature of God. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Isn't there a verse in the Bhagavad Gita where this is described?
This is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. I don't have my phone here. I can't remember the verse number. We can tell you the verse number. Prabhu, can you get my phone from my desk? I'll give you the verse number in a second. Yes?
Yeah, it's a question which is following to that what you said right now, and also on the topic, was it today for the Super Soul?
Yeah, Super Soul, yeah.
It was today in the morning, right?
Yes.
I confused all the lectures. But I asked there if the Super Soul Paramatma has also an identity, and you confirmed. But what's the difference between Krishna and Vrindavan, who has 64 characteristics, and Paramatma with the 4 arms form? What kind of characteristic Paramatma has? Because I don't know.
So what's the difference between Krishna in Vrindavan and the Paramatma? So in a book called The Nectar of Devotion, it explains that Vishnu has 60 qualities. Paramatma means Vishnu. Yeah? But Krishna has 64 qualities. There's 4 qualities which Krishna has that even Vishnu doesn't have. Does anyone know any of those 4 qualities? Yes? Playing the flute. Paramatma doesn't play the flute. Paramatma has a disc, a conch shell, a club, but no flute. Anyone know? Any others?
He has loving relationships.
He has beautiful, loving relationships. This is called prema madhurya. So the loving relationship that he has. with others. Yeah, anyone know any others? Rupa Madhurya, yes. He has a very, very beautiful threefold bending form. Yeah. Anyone know the last one? Leela Madhurya. He performs pastimes which are very, very heart-touching. Now, Paramatma doesn't, Vishnu doesn't do the same. So like this, Krishna in Vrindavan is the most sweet, most charming, most beautiful manifestation of God. Does it make sense? Okay. Just give me 1 second. I just get the verse for Mataji wants to know. So this verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, is quoted in Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 2, text number 2. It's quoted in that purport, so you can read it there. But it's from Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.11. But it's quoted in Bhagavad Gita 2.2. Okay, we'll go to someone who hasn't and then we'll come back.
When we hear that Paramatma is in our heart or Krishna is in our heart, we often hear this description of a tree and we are there and Krishna is there. Is Krishna also in our heart in the spiritual world when we have our spiritual thought?
Okay, yeah. We talked about this morning, yeah. So Paramatma doesn't exist in the spiritual world. Paramatma is the form of the Lord which is accompanying the living entity through the material world with the sole purpose of guiding the living entity back home, back to Godhead. So there are 3 types of Vishnus. Karanadakshaya Vishnu, Garbhadakshaya Vishnu and Shiradakshaya Vishnu. And they exist for the purpose, they are called Purusha avatars. You've heard this term? Purusha avatar. So Purusha avatars exist in order to interact with Prakriti. Prakriti means material nature. So Purusha avatars exist to regulate and manage Prakriti, the material nature. Therefore, in the spiritual world, there's no Prakriti, there's no material nature, and therefore the Purusha avatars don't exist there. They exist only to regulate the Prakriti because they are Purusha avatars. Does that make sense? Okay, yes.
I have one question because of we talked about Krishna and Vrindavan. How alive when we go in these days to Vrindavan? How alive is Krishna there with his leelas and with his?
How alive is Krishna in Vrindavan today? Nice question. There's a very famous Sanskrit verse which says, Vrindavanam parityaja padamekam na gacchati. Krishna never takes one step outside of Vrindavan. So Krishna is there. However, Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena shanta sadeva hridayeshu vilokayanti. Who can see Krishna? Only one who has eyes of love. So if you go to Vrindavan today, there's a beautiful place. Have you been to Vrindavan?
A few weeks ago.
Oh, you just came back. Okay, there you go. Did you find Krishna? Maybe. Yeah. There's a beautiful place called Radha Kund. Did you go to Radha Kund? So Radha Kund is said to be the most spiritual place in the entire universe. So there is a great saint, his name is Raghunath Das Goswami. And Raghunath Das Goswami, he would chant and do his bhajan, his sadhana every day on the banks of Radha Kund. And at one point he wrote a book called Vilapa Kusumanjali. And in this book, Vilapa Kusumanjali, His Holiness Shivram Maharaj is translating it now. But in this book, he describes everything that he's seeing. So do you remember Radha Kund? And then the steps go down. And so we sometimes sit on the banks of Radha Kund and we look around. Now what do we see? We see some water, we see some dogs, we see a few monkeys, we see someone asking for our money. So we see some things. In Vilapa Kusumanjali, Raghunath Das Goswami is writing down what he's seeing. And he is seeing something very different. He is seeing swings. He is seeing Radha, Krishna and the Sakhis. He is seeing all kinds of parrots and all kinds of living entities running around making arrangements because Radha and Krishna are going to have their pastimes. He hears the poetry. He's smelling some beautiful breezes from the flowers because he's seeing something very, very different. So they say, we don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we are. We don't see the world as it is. We see the world according to our state of consciousness. So when we are sufficiently purified, then we can see Vrindavan. Therefore, one great poet, Narottam Das Thakur, you know what he says? Vishaya Chadiya Shuddha Bhaman. He says, yeah, let me get it right. This is very nice what he says. He's basically explaining what it takes to see Vrindavan. What it takes to meet Krishna in Vrindavan. Vishaya chadiya kabe shuddhe habe man, kabe hama herabo Shri Vrindavan. When my mind is completely freed from the desires for material pleasure, at that time I will be able to see the real Vrindavan. So because we go to Vrindavan but we still have many material desires, we can't see the real Vrindavan. We're only seeing something. But the more we become purified, the more we can see beyond. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says the holy dham is like an ocean which is covered by a thin layer of oil. Have you ever seen when oil spills on an ocean? Then it covers the whole ocean. But actually it's only very thin, but it covers everything. So he says the holy dham is like an ocean covered by a thin layer of oil. So if we are very superficial, then we will think, oh, it's just all oil. But if we're able to go beyond the surface, then inside we will find amazing jewels. Find Krishna. But you have to be able to go beyond that oil. Is that okay? Anyone else? We have 5-10 minutes if you have any more questions. Yes?
Not a real question, but maybe you can speak a little bit about the symbols on Krishna's feet.
The symbols on Krishna's feet. Yes, Krishna has many, many symbols on his feet. And each of those symbols represent something different. For example, Jai Shishi Vijay Gauranga Nitai Ki. For example, Krishna on his feet has a thunderbolt. So that thunderbolt signifies that by surrendering unto Krishna's lotus feet, all of one's karma will become annihilated by the thunderbolt of Krishna's foot. On Krishna's foot, another symbol is that there's an elephant goad. You understand what an elephant goad is? It's used to control an elephant. So he said that this symbol means that when you surrender to Krishna's lotus feet, then the mind is like an elephant. And by surrendering to Krishna's lotus feet, then you can control your mind, which is often like an elephant. Like that. Then what other signs are there on Krishna's feet? Does anyone remember? Any other signs?
Umbrella.
An umbrella. The umbrella, it said, signifies that when you take shelter of Krishna, just like when Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill and used it as an umbrella to save all of the residents of Vrindavan from the onslaught of Indra, material nature, that when one takes shelter of Krishna, then all the onslaught of material nature will never affect you like that. Krishna protects. Krishna's lotus feet protect you. So like this, we do a whole, every single sign has a different meaning of why taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet is so powerful. So we won't go through all of them. There are many signs. Like that. Yes.
Practice sadhana bhakti.
Процессы преданного служения, как анархи не видите, все это, процессы, которые мы практикуем, но есть ли методы, как можно очень быстро очиститься, чтобы достигнуть Рагануга Бхакти?
Okay, we are practicing sadhana bhakti and we're going through all the processes like anatta nivritti. And are there any processes how to fasten this process and to go like fast to Raganuga Bhakti?
So Raganuga Bhakti occurs when two things happen. The first thing is that one's anarthas have to be almost completely destroyed. Of course, anarthas exist even up till the bhava stage. But it means the majority of anarthas have disappeared. Lust, envy, greed, all of these things disappear. The second qualification to enter into Raganuga Bhakti is that one must have lobha. Lobha means an intense greed to hear about Krishna, to serve Krishna, to render more service to Krishna, this intense desire, this greed. So when these two things are present, then naturally one moves into spontaneous devotional service. And then it's explained that Krishna will arrange for a spiritual teacher to guide you through Raganuga Bhakti, like that. So how to speed it up? Srila Prabhupada said, advancement in Krishna consciousness is dependent on one thing. Does anyone know what that is? Prabhupada famously said it. Advancement is based on blank of the follower.
Desire?
No.
Surrender?
No.
Attitude.
Attitude. Advancement in Krishna consciousness is dependent on the attitude of the follower. So in Krishna consciousness, there's no special activities that are going to speed up your process. But the special ingredient is to have a better attitude. And that means more desire, more attention, more sacrifice, more desire. And therefore, in order to do that, one must associate with devotees who have that attitude, who have that sincerity, who have that urgency. The quality of our association will determine also the quality of our own consciousness. So we should always take the opportunity to associate with those who are very, very sincere in Krishna consciousness. Like that. Yes.
It is said in past time, Krishna had killed demonic persons and freed their soul. Yes, and now we have Chaitanya's time, and he said, "I don't kill, but I deliver with the holy name." Okay, but is it in spite of this? Can Chaitanya or Krishna do so if some person is in a very bad position and beg, please kill me that I can go out, there's no other way, and so can you also say, in spite of the mission of Lord Chaitanya, to do this through the holy name? You understand?
Our prayer is not to be killed by Krishna. Our prayer is that we kill the ego, the false ego. Because even if Krishna kills our body, ultimately how can we enter into Vrindavan unless we've killed our ego, unless we've developed love for Krishna? So it's not a question of not possible, but the devotee, they're not just looking to get release from the material world. What the devotee is looking for is to develop love for Krishna. And so the devotee doesn't want Krishna so much to just kill them and get them out of the material world, but the devotee wants Krishna to kill their false ego so that they can stop acting in such a self-centered way and learn how to give their heart in love to Krishna. That is actually what our deepest desire is. And so our prayer is, Krishna, teach me how to love you and serve you. That's what we want to do. Actually, a devotee doesn't even want to go back to Godhead. Mama janmani janmanishvare bhavatad bhakti rahai tuki tvai. Krishna, I don't want the opposite gender, I don't want wealth, I don't want fame. I don't even want to be released from the material world. All I want to do is to serve you with love, life after life. So if you really want to conquer, Krishna says, as they surrender unto me with whatever desire, I reward them accordingly. But if you want to defeat Krishna, then surrender to Krishna with no desire. Because then Krishna gets confused. What do I do? Because Krishna said, whatever desire you surrender to me with, I'll reward you. But then when the devotee comes to Krishna and has no desire, then Krishna gets confused, like, oh my God, like, but I'm supposed to reward you, but you came with no desire. Then Krishna gets conquered. Then Krishna, he has nothing to give you. So you know what Krishna then gives you? Himself. Because Krishna looked at the gopis and he said, Naparaye ham niravadya samyujam sasadu krityam vibudayushapiva. Said, Krishna said, I have nothing to give you because you gave up everything and you just gave me your heart. I can't repay you. I have nothing to give you. You've conquered me. So if you really want to conquer God, then go to Him with no desire. Because then He gets confused. There's nothing to give you. So He'll give His very self. That is what a Vaishnava wants to do. We don't want any shortcuts to try to just get out of the pain of this world. The only way to get out of the pain of this world is to fill your heart with love. Everything else will fall short. It's just a temporary solution. Love conquers over everything. Okay, maybe last question.
If I'm not so far that I can fill myself with love and surrender with nothing, is it okay to have the wish to go back to Vrindavan, back to Krishna, and make this the goal? Because I need a goal to focus on. Is that?
Yeah, you can do. Srila Prabhupada writes this. If you look at Bhagavad Gita 15:6, Srila Prabhupada explains the spiritual world, and he says, yes, I'll show you, I'll read it to you. So Krishna talks about what the spiritual world is like. Srila Prabhupada explains it, and then Srila Prabhupada says, one should be captivated by the information of the spiritual world. One should desire to transfer himself to that eternal world and extricate himself from this false reflection of reality. So in the beginning, even Srila Prabhupada did that, right? He named his magazine Back to Godhead. But what happens on the journey of spiritual life is that as you become more mature, as you actually begin to feel the presence of Krishna, and as you experience the beauty of devotional service, then you realize it doesn't actually matter where I am. The main thing is that I can serve Krishna. Srila Prabhupada writes, when a boy and girl are in love, it doesn't matter whether they go to the park, or they go to the cinema, or they watch a good movie or a bad movie. It doesn't really matter. What's the most important thing? That they're together.
To be together.
To be together. So in the same way, later on in Krishna consciousness, whether you're here, there, wherever you are, if you can serve Krishna, be with Krishna, that's the most important. But like you said, we're not there. So for us right now, the thought of going back to the spiritual world and being with Krishna, that's very nice. But later on, when you have that connection with Krishna, then even that is not so important. So yeah, you can now, if it helps you, by all means. It's not a bad thing to want to go back to the spiritual world and love Krishna. But we want to go back to the spiritual world and love Krishna and serve Krishna. We shouldn't want to go back to the spiritual world just because we want to get out of here. That's not good. Because then it's like you're looking at the spiritual world as just an escape. We want to go to the spiritual world because it's a beautiful place where I can serve Krishna. I don't want to go to the spiritual world just because I had enough of Cologne and all the problems here. I need to get out. It sounds like a good place. Let's go there. No, that's not what we want. Is that okay? All right, thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Swami Bhagavan Kishore Maharaj ki jai.